Good morning and welcome to Southeastern 16 as we give you the lowdown on the college football playoff, which will be announced sometime in the coming minutes. I've got a prediction on what that's going to look like. We'll break it down. We'll give you matchups, implications, all that stuff. We'll take your questions and your comments. Blake Lovell, we are here. Everything we have been building to in the college football season will be revealed just moments from now.
It will, and we're going to go ahead and just jump right in. Actually, before we do, let's quickly tell you about our friends at BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and ability to watch the games as they happen. Largest selection of odds on everything from football, which I'm sure there'll be plenty of college football playoff matchup bets for you guys there, plus the NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC. It's all there. Head to BetOnline today. Use that promo code BLEAV, B-L-E-A-V, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline. The game starts here. All right, Chris, here's what we're going to do. We got about 4 minutes before the show starts, and we have no idea what their format's going to be. I would assume they're going to, give us a little suspense off the bat, then eventually reveal the bracket. They don't want to go up against the NFL at noon, that is, in terms of revealing it. So they'll reveal it pretty quickly, I would think, into the show. But we're going to bring up Chris's projection for what he thinks are going to be the 1 through 12 seedings here, and we'll see what you guys think about that. Shout out to T-Rob in the chat here. Says, Roll Tide. Doesn't see him getting in, nor does he think they deserve it, Chris. Well, let's find out what Chris thinks about his projection. We're going to pull it up on the screen here. You guys react accordingly in the comments.
I respectfully disagree. I think you do deserve it. That may not be a popular opinion outside of Alabama's fan base. I will tell you why I think that. I've got 3 or 4 reasons why I think that in a minute. And let me be clear, no inside information here. Been at church this morning. I have no idea what's coming out in the bracket projections. So, it may have leaked out that SMU is getting in and Alabama's not, or vice versa. I don't know. I'm just reasoning through this myself. But and in case you watched last night and you're wondering why are your predictions a little different today, I had completely forgotten some things about what the playoff committee had said in terms of its order. And I think we'd also just kind of figured that the ACC winner was going to get one of those 3 spots. Well, here's the problem. Clemson was 17 last week. Clemson won the ACC. Clemson was behind Arizona State and Boise State in the poll. Unless the committee jumps Clemson ahead of another conference champion, and it's not like Boise State played badly in beating UNLV. It won that by 14. It was on its home field, whereas Clemson was playing on neutral field. And Arizona State, if you didn't see it, just obliterated a respectable Iowa State team yesterday. So, Blake, I think that the 4 seeds are going to line up like this. Oregon is not dropping out of 1. I can't see Georgia being anything other than 2, and Boise was ahead of Arizona State, so that accounts for my top 4 seeds, which I don't think is probably groundbreaking at this point.
No, I was going to say, I don't think this is a surprise at all. Based on what I've seen, I feel like most people they have this as the top 4, so I can't say there would be any surprise in this whatsoever if this is the way it shakes out. Now, as you mentioned, we can have another discussion afterwards about whether these should be the top 4 seeds based on the way the current rules stand, but that's a discussion for a later day.
Okay, running down the 5 to the 12, I will walk you through why I've got this the way I've got it. Texas was 2 last week, ahead of Penn State 3. I don't see anything in the order of things that will have changed to make Texas get passed by Penn State. Did you see anything? Texas went to overtime with Georgia. Penn State lost in regulation by a touchdown to Oregon. So I think, to me, Texas at 5 and Penn State at 6 feels safe.
This is a word manual. Chase and I were laughing about this this week, but data points is his big buzzword right now. And if you look at the data points, I can't imagine you would be flipping them at this point based on how those games unfolded. So
yeah. Notre Dame feels like a 7 by default. I don't, and I'm going to get into a little bit of a contradictory stuff here in a minute, I think, but I'm trying to use a gut feeling. There's been some talk, does Ohio State leap Penn State now since it won head-to-head? I don't know. I just feel like Ohio State being last week at 6, Penn State being at 3. Both of them lost to Oregon. That is one thing to watch. You could see a flip where maybe those teams are in a different order, but I don't know. Dropping Penn State 5 spots, too, for a respectable showing in the conference title game felt a little odd to me.
Well, we're gonna have a discussion on teams potentially dropping based on their title game performance, depending on who is selected here. So that could be the biggest talking point coming out of this, would be my guess. So
yeah, well, and that's the problem, because I'm sort of dropping SMU out for the same reason, and this is why I've got Alabama in ahead of. Well, there's several reasons I've got Alabama in ahead of SMU. Number one, you compare the wins. Alabama's wins: Georgia at LSU, South Carolina, Missouri. That's 4 teams that won at least 8 games. Georgia won what? 11. LSU won 8 and 4, a really good 8 and 4. South Carolina, Missouri both went 9 and 3. Beat Auburn in a rivalry game. Won at Wisconsin, which is a respectable team, even though it went 5 and 7. No, I'm not using Wisconsin as its strength of the argument, but it is a very tiny part of it. SMU, best wins at Louisville, which is a nice win, don't get me wrong, followed by at Duke, TCU, Cal, Pitt, Boston College. You go top 6 wins. That's kind of arbitrary, but nobody below that's really that significance. Although Alabama did beat a Western Kentucky team that played for a conference title, so there's that. Do I think that SMU losing only twice compared to Alabama's 3 losses, and I get at Oklahoma, at Vandy, not great losses, not awful losses, but not something you want on your playoff resume. I just think the body of work for Alabama in the wins, to me, is significantly better than SMU's. And look, if you put SMU against that schedule, I think SMU's losing at least 3 games.
All right, so I'm going to give you the betting odds. And by the way, I know some people are mentioning in the chat that the committee said that they are not punishing a team for losing a conference championship. Just so we are clear on that, like Warde Manuel did say, like he didn't exactly give an answer when asked about that possibility of SMU sliding behind Alabama. Now, I think a lot of people were saying, okay, in that scenario, it would be SMU, Chris, losing by multiple touchdowns or something like that, getting blown out basically. But he didn't exactly shut down the idea that SMU could slide out. I want to make that clear. He did sort of go that far as to not rule out that possibility. The betting odds, Chris, you want to know what the betting odds are right now? From Mike Rodak here. He put this out about an hour and a half ago on FanDuel. SMU minus 1,000 to make the playoff, Alabama plus 560.
Woo!
So
okay.
If you're betting on Alabama and they get in, you're going to make a little money here, folks. So not to deny our friends at Bet Online. You can bet on all the games there, but that is what Mike put out in his tweet there. So that's a big gap in that one.
And maybe I picked the wrong horse. Like I said, this is just me thinking to myself, if you put Alabama and SMU on a neutral field right now, play them, Alabama's going to be favored, I think, by at least a touchdown. Maybe 8.5. So I think that's a big thing. The other thing, too, in an era where the SEC is kind of talking with the Big Ten and loosely, putting it out there that, hey, we can always take our ball and go home. I think that having 4 ACC teams, 4 Big Ten teams and 3 SEC teams when the SEC was absolutely the stronger league, I think that's hard to overcome. The other thing is follow the money. There's so much money in this playoff. I think having Alabama and Penn State matched up in that 11-6 game is – and look, I do not blame you for hating this take because I don't like it either. I'm just being a realist. To me, Alabama, Penn State, much better for the finances than SMU, Penn State. Or if you want to go Clemson at 11, you could always put Alabama, Texas as a 12-5. That would be a dandy too. But I don't know. I just to me, and maybe I'm the one out to lunch here. I could very well be. Not spending my morning going over what everybody's got. And those betting odds were staggering. But to me, there are reasons that you would put Alabama in, and there are multiple reasons, even if I don't like all of them.
Well, we're going to find out here shortly. They will be revealed here in just a second. I'm going to do my best to give you guys the bracket as soon as it's unfolded. We might even try to add a team in each time they're added in. Remember, we're watching this live just like you are. I know some people will be ahead of others in the chat and all that, so we will react as we see it on our screens. And again, you guys will, I know, weigh in right away in terms of what your thoughts are on some of these. Nick Saban talking at the moment. We don't have the audio on. Keep that in mind. Anytime we do these live shows, we don't have audio unless you want to turn on the subtitles, I suppose, or closed captioning. But so we're just reacting to as they put them on the screen, Chris. So that's what we'll do here. And we'll see how it goes here. And we'll also get you the betting odds. I know those will be up as soon as the games are announced. We'll get you the betting odds from BetOnline for the matchups as soon as we see those once they're added. So.
Nick Saban's wearing his crimson.
Can you imagine
Crimson coat, crimson tie.
Yeah. Can you imagine this conversation once we get into that? So if, I mean, again, he's given his thoughts on what he thinks. So we'll see.
You know what? If Alabama does not get in, if I'm the SEC, and maybe this sounds bratty or whatever, I would take every team that's playing a tough out-of-conference game next year and say, screw it. We're scheduling Southern Miss. We're scheduling, Kent State. We're doing whatever. We're not going to Wisconsin. We're not playing Southern Cal in a neutral site game. We're not playing Clemson. Because if strength of schedule doesn't matter, what the message the committee will have sent is that strength of schedule really does not matter. It'll just be how many losses are to the right of the dash. And I don't think that's fair.
No.
I don't think it's fair that you can just beat up on anybody and everybody. You play 1 or 2 games of consequence, and then the teams that play a half dozen games of consequence in the SEC. I just don't think that makes for good football. What you're going to get then is you're going to get everybody going back to these awful out-of-conference matchups, which I think that everybody's trying to go away from with the way the TV revenue is gone. But if I'm the SEC, that's what I'm doing if Alabama doesn't get in.
Yeah. Well, before they reveal them here, keep in mind, we'll just give you a quick rundown if you happen to forget the order. It was Oregon at 1. They won the Big Ten championship against Penn State. Texas was at 2. They lost to Georgia, as we know. Penn State at 3. They lost to Oregon. Notre Dame at 4. And Georgia was at 5. Of course, they beat Texas in the SEC championship game. Ohio State was at 6, Tennessee at 7, SMU at 8, losing the nail-biter to Clemson, Indiana at 9, Boise State 10, Alabama 11, and so forth is where we're at. Of course, Arizona State was at 15. We know they're in. Clemson was at 17. We know they're in as well. So that's where we stand, Chris, as we get ready for the big reveal. Let's see how long this takes. Are they going to do – I keep bringing this up every time we do these live bracket reveal shows. They're going to do what CBS did that year, where they released the teams in alphabetical order.
Oh, I hope not. That was awful.
I always come back to that. Whose idea was that? Come on, folks. Releasing them in alphabetical order. What an interesting concept that. Wow, I'll never forget that. So if that's what they wanted, it wasn't a bad idea. But yeah, nonetheless, I don't think they're going to do that here.
If I'm TV, what I'm doing, I'm announcing the 4 teams that get the buys, and then I'm taking a commercial, getting my money's worth. Heck, I might even announce, 4 more, take another commercial, come back, do the other 4. I don't know. There's a lot of money on this, and it's got everybody's attention until NFL kickoff.
Well, other people's attention may be on the Auburn Tigers playing basketball. They're up 9-3 early on Richmond.
Right.
So we've
got big games in basketball today.
Yeah, if you missed it earlier, by the way, I know a lot of you joining in for football. We did do our live stream this morning for Kentucky getting the big win over Gonzaga. If you missed it late night out west, the Cats got a win. We had, my goodness, 10,000 people maybe hop in already on that. So there you go. But check it out if you want to.
And if you are new, if you're seeing us for the first time, what we do, I mean, this is what we do. We cover football, baseball, basketball in the SEC wall to wall, even out of season. So if you're looking for a one-stop place that just does the SEC, and we're not here for drive-by takes, whatever. We're just here to do a job and try to do it well.
Yep. That's what we do. So Yeah, we appreciate you guys. If you're in there right now, we got 700 plus of you watching. Hit the like button if you're excited for what's to come here with the playoff. Hit the subscribe button. Join on in as well. And by the way, if you're leaving a comment, I guarantee you we'll get to your comment if you leave a super chat. You can donate basically 50 cents to the channel if you want. That'll give us a super chat. Hit that little $ button. You can also join the It Just Means More tier at Southeastern 16. We got a lot of members-only content coming up, live streams, Q&As, all sorts of stuff. Watch-alongs we're doing. So we got a lot of stuff coming up for our members. So we appreciate your support of the channel. All right, so they're going over the resumes right now, Chris, for the first round buys. Boise State, Arizona State, Clemson, kind of discussing the numbers here. Strength of schedule in Boise State's favor, or strength of record in Boise State's favor on that. Clemson with the strength of schedule. Boise State 5-1 against teams over 500. Arizona State 4-1. Clemson 2-3. Key wins multiple for each of those teams. So,
did you watch Arizona State yesterday?
I did.
They are a headache right now. Like, yeah, if they get, they're going to get one of the 4 buys, I'm pretty sure. But
yeah,
Cam Scattleboo is a headache.
Yeah, he is a problem. Shout out to Donovan, 99-cent super chat. We appreciate that, Donovan. Had a lot of super chats earlier in the basketball live stream. T-Rob joining in as a new member. Always appreciate T-Rob jumping in with us here. And, yeah, we appreciate you guys. And if you're jumping in for the first time, and, hey, more of this to come as we go through college football playoff and everything else this season. So there you go.
Our man Sam says Cody or Scattleboo runs like Cody Schrader. I think he runs like a cross between Cody Schrader and Jerome Bettis. I mean, he is just – there's nobody like him. I remember seeing him against Mississippi State back in September. And I kind of said, State can't stop the run. Well, that had a little bit to do with that guy too.
Yeah. There you go. Chris, you want to quickly, because I know some people are hopping in, South Carolina fans and such. You guys discussed it. You know, obviously they're not getting in, but thoughts on the final ranking for them and kind of winding up where they did.
Somebody's got to be just a little bit short. And unfortunately, that's where they landed. I think what really hurt them, if you flip that LSU game to a win, we're not having this conversation they're in. We're not even talking about Alabama in that case. We're probably not talking about SMU in that case. But that's the way the breaks go. And they got an awful break. We've been saying that all year. I think if you're picking top 12 teams in the country where they're playing right now, I would absolutely put South Carolina in. But unfortunately, I think they just came up 1 win short.
All right, so committee's going, or the ESPN's going through the Alabama versus SMU. Alabama 9th strength of record, SMU 15th. Strength of schedule, Alabama 16 to 60th for SMU. 5-1 Alabama wins over 500 teams. SMU 5-2. Key wins, Georgia, South Carolina. On that one, Missouri, LSU, Louisville, Duke, Pitt, TCU for SMU. So,
if you take aside that it's Alabama and Alabama's very polarizing, I get it. And a lot of people are sick of the SEC getting this or that. If you compare resumes, you take the teams off the helmet, I just think Alabama's case is a lot better than SMU's. I don't think it's that close. Is the committee going to do something else? Maybe. The betting odds that you read earlier make me think I'm on an island on this.
Yeah. Well, by the way, SC Scout guy, another regular here. What time do they actually reveal the rankings? Well, just as we expected, they got a media person at every single headquarters, I think, for each team. So they're probably going to go to them first. My guess is, I said initially, they're going to do 15-minute segment to start things off, go to a break, and then reveal, and then maybe another break to reveal the rest of it. That could be how we do. But yeah, they're not going to. It's not going to take 4 hours to release the show. So yeah, I mean, look, DJ says here, first 30 minutes. Yeah, maybe. I mean, we may not know it for another 15 minutes, but that's kind of where we are. So.
Do you want to throw up the bracket that I had just for the people joining late?
Yeah, if you're joining late, this was the bracket that Chris had pulled up here, and this is his projection for what he would have. Yeah, so this is the way it looks. So Oregon 1, Georgia 2, Boise State 3, Arizona State 4, Texas and Clemson in the 5-12, Ohio State, Tennessee in the 8-9, Penn State, Alabama in the 6-11, Notre Dame, Indiana in the 7-10. Plenty of made-for-TV games there, but for sure.
Hey, this is interesting because I was wondering, like, they've got somebody, they've got Alyssa Lang at Alabama, and they've got somebody at SMU now too, although Alyssa's inside the complex. Quint
They got
Kessenich
people
is
everywhere.
well, he's in the stadium. There's no team watch party today, it says. So do they know something that we don't?
I wouldn't read too much into that. But you never know. You never know. So, yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see. But, all right. Let's see. What else do we have here? Yeah, so that's kind of where we are. So it sounds like we're probably going to go to a commercial here. I don't have the audio on, but I see the visuals they're giving us, and my guess is we're about to head to a commercial and then reveal the first teams in, perhaps, after that. So you guys can update us in the chat, as always. Let's see. What else can we discuss while we're waiting for this? Again, guys, we appreciate you hopping in. This will get more interesting as we start to get teams announced. But, I mean, look, Gaming Dreams brings up the point here. Like, SMU played this weekend. Alabama didn't. SMU should get in. And that goes back to the exact quote we had. I'm going to find it here if I can real quick. Chase and I were talking about that this week on exactly what Ward Manuel said. I'm going to give you the exact quote that he mentioned. This was from 5 days ago, okay? This was from December the 3rd. Here's exactly when he was asked, he was grilled by, I think it was Reese Davis maybe, basically asked the question of what could happen in this scenario. He addressed that saying could potentially happen, meaning if SMU could fall behind Alabama. And he said, potentially, yes, is the quote. And then they can move above teams as well. Again, it just depends on the outcome of the game. That was the specific quote, the outcome of the game. Then he also went in to talk about this, right? Quote, if you take, for example, Tennessee is ahead of SMU. Indiana is behind SMU. Tennessee will not drop below Indiana at any point. Neither team is playing, but SMU can move up. Depending on how we evaluate the game, they could stay where they are, or they can move down depending on the outcome of the game. But Tennessee and Indiana in this example would never flip. Indiana would never move ahead of Tennessee, and Tennessee would never drop below Indiana because we've already evaluated them. There's not another data point. He loves data points. Because they're not playing in the championship games, so we don't have anything else to add to the evaluation of those teams, so we can't move them above or below each other. So, quick story on that. It is simply, Chris, if they were evaluating that game in the ACC championship, it was all about the outcome, the performance of SMU. They lose at the buzzer. Is that enough to move SMU behind an idle Alabama team? That's what everybody's debating here. Again, we seem like we have a very strong opinion on the betting odds and all that SMU should still stay above Alabama, but we are going to find out. So,
can they make us any more nervous?
See, Scout guy
I thought we would at least
2 minutes.
I thought we'd at least get the 4 with the buys by now.
No, look, at the bottom of the screen now, it says coming up, exclusive reveal. So, and they're also bringing on Ward Manuel again. So I wish I could have the audio on what Ward Manuel's saying, which I may actually do that, Chris. I may let you talk, and I may mute on my side and get some of the audio of what he's going to say here once they reveal it. So just to kind of have some more talking points, although I know I'm sure the Twitter will have all the tweets and everything on the quotes and stuff, but I'm going to try to listen to it as well. So.
Well, I'll say this for SMU. They certainly didn't make it easy on the committee. I thought they were going to get run out of Charlotte last night, the way that game started, and then they made it a field goal game at the end. So that was a scenario that we said could be really bad for Alabama. It played out exactly in the worst case manner. Now it'll be, does the committee just go ahead and put Alabama in anyway, which again, if you're joining us late, I think is deserved, or does it roll with made a conference title game, lost by a field goal? And what essentially also, to be fair, was I didn't see the crowd breakdown, but Charlotte's a whole lot closer to Clemson than it is to Dallas.
Yeah. There you have it. All right. We're going to get ready to, let's see, get the announcement here shortly after we show AT&T Stadium or Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the fourth time in 15 minutes. I'm just kidding. It's TV, folks. We know how this works. Here we go.
I wonder who is number one.
I wonder who's going to be ahead of. And I know I see all the comments, but I'm not looking at them. So we're going to wait. I'm going to watch it on the. Oh, okay. Hold on. We got to give the.
Is the audience ahead of us?
Oh, I mean, there will be plenty of people that are going to be ahead of us, but it's fine. I'm not going to look at the chat until I see it, and we'll react live, and then we'll jump back in the chat. You guys can. You guys will be ahead of us. I guarantee you. It's the way it always works. So
I'm trying to make sense of these graphics that are giving me vertigo. They're switching so quickly. I think are they trying to tell us that the 12th seed is going to be the 5th conference champion? That's how I interpreted that. What is
how
this?
How long with these graphics can we fill time with? I mean, congratulations to the people who made these because these are impressive. But
this is like the bracket version of flashing Christmas lights.
Oh man, like how many we got like transition movements here on these. This is incredible. So that's why they get paid the big bucks. So SC Scout guy, what is up with these graphics? Oh, we're not even going to the bracket. We're going back to the panel afterwards. So
what? Let us do the show.
Well, that's why we wouldn't make any money if we did the show. We're not good as they are at the suspense of the whole thing. So, by the way, Big Baller Brett, we'll get to his super chat in a minute. Don't ever forget Big Baller Brett. We'll bring it up. All right, here we go. Let's go. It's time.
Wow, Oregon at 1. Who knew?
Oh boy. Let me update our projection.
We're 22 minutes in, and you give us the one thing we already knew.
Let's update the projection. All right, I'm going to fill out our bracket as we go here, and I'll put the live bracket up once it's officially revealed.
Georgia 2.
All right.
Am I ahead of you
so far? I think we're about the same.
Okay,
which is surprising. But
well, I've changed cable providers over the weekend.
Well, if you want to join AT&T, plenty of.
I'm back to YouTube.
Promos on this show. All right, here we go. Number 3.
Oh, come on. We know this already.
Hold on. We don't know number 3 yet because we got to compare the resumes again, folks. So,
boy, let's see. They all won. Are they going to move one team in front? Now, I'll tell you what they could do. They could move Arizona State up, all kidding aside.
Yeah,
they look really good yesterday.
Yeah, somebody in the chat. Who can retain all this info?
They probably ought to, if we're being honest.
I don't know who can retain all this info. Not me. We're watching on mute. I can't imagine the discussion that's being had right now. But anyways, that's where we are, folks.
You know who's winning TV?
Sure, it's a 4-hour show. Please. Here we go. Number 3. We wait.
Yeah, we wait some Boise.
Yeah. All right. So Chris is going to get the top 4 here, I think. Unless Clemson swapped in for Arizona State, which I just don't see. So
yeah, I don't think that's happening after the way Arizona State won. Could you imagine Arizona State being 5 after the way it played yesterday? Yeah. And as Kenny Dillingham kept pointing out, like, hey, look, the one game we lost, or one of the 2 games we lost, we did not have our quarterback.
Yeah. Got a point. All right. Come on. Let's get this out of the way. We know who number 4 is.
There it is, Arizona State.
Yeah. So
I presume that means Clemson is the 12.
Well, I would think so, right? Or wait, look. Oh yeah.
Well,
okay. Yeah. So okay. Yeah,
okay.
I think it'll be Clemson as the 12. Well, hold on. No, wait.
But
no.
Wait, you know what? If weren't they trying to, with all the graphics, it felt like they were trying to tell us that the other conference champion was going to be the 12. And if that's the case,
yeah,
they're not going to put SMU ahead of Clemson.
Yeah, Clemson I think could be the 11 though, right? Yeah, right. Exactly.
That might be what they would do. Okay.
I think that's what's going to happen. Yeah. Clemson's going to move to that spot, and then SMU will fall at 12 if that's how it works. So,
And if it's Alabama,
oh, boy.
Bama was 11 and Clemson was 17.
I think it's got to be SMU. Based on I feel like it's got to be that. But again, guys, some of you are asking, and I know maybe you're just following along and you're not necessarily watching the show, which we appreciate you joining in with us. But we will put the full bracket up as soon as it's revealed. I don't want to put Chris's projection up right now, again, because some of you may think this is the bracket. But the top 4 is exactly how Chris had it.
Clemson's the 12.
Okay, so Clemson is the 12. All right. Well, then
I don't think they – tell me, how would they put SMU at 11?
Well, okay. This could get interesting. So Clemson's at 12. So far, the Chris Lee projection you looked at earlier is exactly according to plan. This should be Texas if Chris's projection holds. How about Oregon, Arizona State? The Pac-12 reunited in the semifinals.
Oh,
what do we think about that?
I like it.
We missed you, Pac-12. Come on back with the winner going to the championship game. What do we think, potentially?
What are we waiting for?
I think Bama's in at this point. Based
Texas
on how
is
this
the
is
5.
unfolded, I think you may have nailed it, Chris. Like, we're going to remove Chris Lee. You're going to save me a lot of work.
I'm either going to feel like a genius or I'm going to feel like a complete idiot here in a couple of minutes. I don't know which way this is, but I do think if Clemson, I do think if it was SMU, then you can't make Clemson the 12 and put SMU as the 11 or the 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
Now that might be the thing I didn't think of. What if they drop SMU one spot and that's it?
Yeah. Possible. That could be it as well. Again, the betting odds, there's going to be a lot of money made or lost on this thing in a second. But so far, we are according to plan with this. Again, I will pull the Chris Lee projection up, but I don't want to give you guys the thought.
Don't do it if it's not. Yeah.
So, I mean, you guys are asking for the bracket, but I'm not going to update it just yet until we get the full one. So I'll give it to you as soon as we release the full thing. I'll give you the bracket. But for now, Oregon 1, Georgia 2, Boise 3, Arizona State 4.
Penn State is the 6. That's where I had that one.
Now, here we go. Now, this is the one everybody's waiting on. Number 11. Oh, boy.
They're going to make us wait. They're not just going to throw it out
100%.
there.
We got it's break time. It's 11:28. We got to go to a break before the half of the hour. I'm going to close the chat for a second because I know the chat's about to get there's about to be a lot of chats sent through no matter what this decision is. So, we'll find out here.
I don't have a dog in the hunt and I'm nervous.
Oh, boy. Again, Vegas usually knows. I'll say that. Vegas is usually
Notre Dame. Oh, they're gonna tease it. Okay, they've got Notre Dame at 7. We don't have sound on as we're watching this.
They are gonna just they're
Notre
like
Dame
no.
is thrilled to be here.
We're gonna give you the full 5-12 matchup. Then we're gonna give you the 6, and then say, you know what? We're not going to give you that 11 just yet.
I guarantee you they're going to go 8 and 9 next, and they're going to make us wait. No, they'll give us Indiana's about to go to Notre Dame, I will bet you, which is, I think, fantastic.
Yeah, then they'll give us Tennessee, Ohio State, and then
they'll wait to give us who Penn State's got. That's exactly what they're going to do.
Oh, boy. Great. Bravo, director of ESPN. This is how you do it, right?
This is genius stuff.
I couldn't have done it any better. Could not have at all. So
Ohio State the 8.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, we should have touted this as Chris Lee spoils the bracket early. I mean, that's what we should have done. If you get this right, we would have got a lot more views in here, folks. We got 800 plus of you watching right now. So, Tennessee's going to head to Ohio State.
That was the one thing I thought the committee could do that would be interesting is flip Penn State and Ohio State because of head-to-head. But it did not.
No, conference championship game. I think it goes back to – and if that argument holds, then 11 should be SMU based on, again, the criteria, the argument that they've had. But we'll find
And
out
look,
in
if
a
the
couple
if the
hours.
committee takes Alabama instead of SMU, people are going to roast them. It's going to be championship game. But you know what? At some point, you have to switch lanes because sometimes what is loudest differs from team to team.
Yeah.
People are going to yell about it if it's Alabama, and I understand. But when I look at what each team has done, it is really not that close.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the one thing I could not see going any other way was that 8-9 game.
Yeah.
Everything else, I'm like, there's a little bit of doubt. That's the one thing I kind of felt like, okay, if that looks something different than Ohio State, Tennessee, 8-9 with Ohio State hosting, I was going to be surprised. Again, the flip could have been Penn State and Ohio State, which I think if you're Tennessee, I'd much rather play Penn State than Ohio State.
Yeah.
Given James Franklin in big games.
Yeah. All right, so now we're down to 2. We know Indiana's going to be one of them. We know that's likely not 100% going to be against Notre Dame. And then we wait for Alabama and SMU. And again, based on what I've seen so far, yeah, you can make an argument both ways. But if their criteria is that the championship game performance and those kind of things, I think it's probably SMU, right?
I'm going to hate it, but if I'm TV, I'm absolutely taking a commercial break here.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Commercial, get Indiana to Notre Dame, and then I'm taking a break. So make people wait even longer.
Yeah, because it's not. You're not going to send Indiana to Penn State.
No. So Indiana's going to Notre Dame. One of those going to play Georgia. And, yeah. So
I think Indiana Notre Dame will be super cool.
No, that is a fun first shot. I mean, you've got, even Texas and
Alabama,
Clemson,
Penn State used to play every year.
Well, I know, and that's why you say made for TV.
Yep.
Okay, so Indiana gets the official headed to Notre Dame, but Tennessee, Ohio State's a big game. Texas, Clemson, in terms of they'll be able to, push that with the tradition, the history, all that stuff. Like these are, yeah, and like you said, if you were to insert an Alabama in here at 11, well, folks, I mean, you got your history and tradition with all these games here, but SMU. What about an SMU Boise quarterfinal game? Playoffs. All right. I'm going to mute for a second because I want to see how far away and if they're going to take a break here. I want to hear what they're saying.
Thank you for those joining us. Blake is going on mute to listen to the sound, which I'm not listening to the sound. I'm just watching what is in front of the screen. If you join us late, I've got Alabama getting this spot ahead of SMU. The betting markets have got it opposite of that. No ad read, Brett. We did one of Blake will do the other one.
We'll get another ad read in a second, boy. We'll give
are you ahead of me yet? Have you seen it?
We're the resumes. No, I'll let you know. Here we go. I'm gonna list.
We can't just make it that easy. Blake at least gets the benefit of hearing what they're talking through. I don't. I'm just sitting here like a dummy watching the screen, not having any idea when they're going to throw this up or what's coming next.
Don't look at the chat. I want you to be surprised.
Okay. Do you know it?
Reese Davis just said there's no right answer. Uh-oh.
I think there is a right answer, and it's Alabama. I'm not looking at the chat. Oh, they did it. SMU. Wow.
Yeah, so there you go.
Okay.
Vegas knows, folks.
Vegas knows.
Vegas knows. They always know. That was too big of a gap. I think it'd have been like, even money or something. You could have went one way. Nah, that's way too much of a gap from old Vegas there. So
how do you put SMU ahead of Clemson?
Yeah, ESPN said there are no right answers here.
Yeah, well, I can tell you a wrong answer.
That's a great quote, I thought. So there you go. Oh boy. Anyway, so
look, SMU is a good team. If I'm the SEC right now, I'm saying screw playing good teams out of conference, screw going to 9-game schedules. It doesn't help you.
Yeah. All right, Chris, I'm gonna get the bracket pulled up for everybody here. If you want to just give me a second to stall, and then give your other thoughts on that debate with Alabama and SMU.
Boy, I bet Alabama will be really, really fired up for that bowl game.
Yeah.
I wonder what Nick Saban's saying.
I'll get that to you shortly.
I have a feeling I've got a pretty good idea.
I'm going to actually get that to you. Hold on.
So there you have it. I think Blake's listening to Nick Saban. Yeah, that's what he's doing. So he's going to tell us what he's saying. I've got it on mute, so I will wait for Blake to rejoin us. Yeah, there it is. The only thing that really surprised me, and I can't say I was surprised, the betting markets had SMU. I thought Alabama was a better pick there. I will still ride with that. I would have taken Alabama, but I'm not the committee. I do wonder last night if Clemson, the early momentum holds over. I think Clemson was up maybe 24-7. If that ends up a 48-10 blowout, is Alabama in that spot? I'm going to guess it would be. But I think SMU coming back, making that a game late, was probably the difference. So can't wait to watch it. Issues with the committee aside, this is going to be so much fun. We've been dying for this all along, and now we get it.
All right. So Nick Saban kind of just echoed the thought that everyone has, right? It's just if you're a fan, you want to see these big games, in the regular season. You want to have incentive for playing these big non-conference games, right? But as he said, what does that mean moving forward? And he also said, but at the same time, he thinks, hey, the best teams got in. Each team had a chance to control their own destiny. And as I think Kirk was talking about here, Alabama's late season, the loss to Oklahoma, of course, is the one that really stands out. So I think those are the debating, points right now for a lot of people. So, yeah, I think that's where we are.
All right, Blake, I'm gonna make my point with scheduling right here. I'm going to compare Alabama and SMU. Best win. Alabama's is Georgia, SMU's is at Louisville. Which would you rather have?
I think we know the answer to that.
Well, just play along. Next best win. I think Alabama's next best win probably at LSU. South Carolina, I'm getting to you soon. SMU's at Duke. Which would you rather have?
I think we also know the answer to that one as well.
Win number 3, South Carolina, TCU. We know the answer to that. Win number 4, would you rather beat Missouri at home or Cal at home? That's Alabama. That's SMU. So we're 4-0 for Alabama so far. Would you rather beat Auburn in the Iron Bowl, even if it is in your backyard, or beating Pitt? That's SMU's 5th best win. I'd rather have the Auburn win. Would you rather go to Wisconsin and win or beat Boston College at home? I'd rather have Wisconsin. That's 6. I mean, we can get into the other ones after that.
Hold on. I will push back, as SC Scout Guy did here. You still think LSU's a better win than South Carolina?
Yes. Well, no. Okay. You've got to go to LSU and play at a point where LSU's still got some things to play for. South Carolina was at home. I do factor in home and road in this. You could put South Carolina 2 and at LSU 3. It will not change the point I'm trying to make here. So we put all the wins on a scale. It is very lopsided in Alabama's favor. So what you're saying is it losses at Tennessee, at Oklahoma, at Vandy, just losing to BYU at home and Clemson on a neutral field. Again, SMU's losses, none of those were away games. That's your difference. That's how you're making your decision. That losing at Tennessee, at Oklahoma, at Vandy is worse than losing to BYU at home and Clemson on a neutral site in a title game. That's what the committee said. I don't agree, but I think I'm in the minority.
Well, we know we're going to hear from Ward Manuel here in just a bit. Let's see if I can find some quick betting odds on these games. I know these places are going to race to put them out, so I'm going to see what BetOnline has for us here in just a minute. But if you want the exact quote on Nick Saban, if we don't take strength of schedule into consideration, is there any benefit to scheduling really good teams in the future?
Nope.
Here at Alabama, we're supposed to play Notre Dame, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Florida State in the future outside of the league. Those are great games for fans to see, and that's what I think we should be doing in college football, is creating more good inventory for great games that people are interested in. But do you enhance people wanting to do that? What's the athletic director going to do? He may go cancel all those games now, knowing the SEC is tough enough. But like I said, Saban did go on to say that no coach should complain. Each team controls their own destiny, thinks the best teams are in. So that's your statement there.
Okay, I will tell you what I think the spreads are going to be. Have they put anything out yet?
I will find them shortly, but
okay,
yeah, you give me your thoughts.
I think Texas and Clemson is going to be about Texas and 13. I think Tennessee, Ohio State is going to be Ohio State by about, well, it's already out. It's already about 7.5. There are already preemptive lines on that, which is about where I would put it. SMU, Penn State, I think Penn State is going to be about a touchdown favorite. I think if it had been Alabama, it would have been a pick 'em, or Alabama might have been a point favorite. And Indiana, Notre Dame, I think that's going to be 8 to 10, Notre Dame.
Interesting. I'm still looking, so give me just a second to try to find these. They'll be out shortly, I'm sure. But what'd you say on Texas Clemson? You thought 13?
Yeah.
Is that high?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, if you look at power ratings, which correlate pretty heavily with what the spreads are, that's about what it's going to be. Now, I will tell you this. And this is before yesterday, so I don't know how that's changed. It might be a little less than that. The other thing about Texas that bothers me, I've been really high on Texas all year. They just have not, in big games, they've underwhelmed a little bit. You saw it twice against Georgia. Now, when they're great, they look fantastic, like the Florida game. But they dominate the first half yesterday against Georgia and have nothing to show for it because they missed 2 field goals. And just, I mean, they're hitting big plays downfield all first half.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the stat sheet said at halftime, but it was lopsided. And going back to the A&M game, I just thought their offense was very underwhelming in that game. It just feels like, and maybe this is a team that gets to the playoff and it puts it together. Like, if you're asking me who's the most talented team in the country, I think it might be Texas. But it hasn't quite matched up with the results yet, in my mind.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I think these, like you said, I think some of these first-round games, the spread's going to be interesting. But you guys, I want you guys to weigh in the chat. Some of you already are. Like, give me your first-round upset. Like, if you're going to make a pick, let's say you're going to put some money down, and our friends at Bet Online, and you had to bet on one of these first games. I mean, maybe you're like, well, it's just as easy as going by seeding 8, 9. You know, the most likely, and then going on further down. But let me know your thoughts on what you think about potential upsets. As Rod says here, he's putting his money on Indiana. So we'll see. I think those are interesting ones. Yeah, SEC football. Tennessee upsets Ohio State. Are you surprised by my pick? No, we're not. SEC football. We're not at all surprised by your pick. Yeah, so we'll put some of these on here. Indiana, yeah, again, I think. I mean, would you guys say that, do you think SMU, Penn State is more unlikely than Clemson, Texas? There's an interesting question. Curious to know what you guys think on that. So, all right. I'm going to keep looking for these odds, Chris, by the way. Here you go, from our guy Donovan, noted Auburn fan, $4.99 super chat. We appreciate that, Donovan. He says, I think the reason why people want SMU in the playoff over Bama is because deep down they know Bama could walk in there and win the whole darn thing. So,
yep.
There you go.
I think he's right.
Donovan's an Auburn fan too, folks. Just remember that. All right. Yeah, while we're looking for odds, Donovan asks, best quarterfinal potential matchup, Oregon versus Tennessee. I think that's, probably the easy call. I mean, Oregon, Ohio State would be great too, but I mean, for this channel's purposes, I think we'd be okay with Oregon versus Tennessee in that one. But that's clearly, I think, Chris, the best, which is interesting because that's the 1 versus the 8 or the 9, versus...
That's a made-for-TV game, man. That's fast-moving offenses. That's guys who can get it and go.
that feels like a 1 versus 4 instead of a 1 versus 8, 9 type scenario, right? So I think that's easily your biggest
Notre Dame,
attraction.
Georgia, though, man, that is a brand
Yeah.
name game, man. That is,
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have that. That's going to be probably the. I don't know if Notre Dame's got the biggest fan base in the country, but I bet it does. Along with Georgia, which has been your preeminent program in football for 5 years.
Yeah. I get it.
Give or take a few.
All right, let me see if I can...
People in the comments saying this sucks and the games are. I don't get that. Look, I have a disagreement with what the committee did with that, putting SMU, but I think all these games are fascinating. I mean, even seeing SMU with relevance for the first time in 40 years. James Franklin can't win a big game to save his life. I think all these games are fun.
No, I think these are, they are interesting matchups. And I think when it's all over, we'll realize this is a better scenario. I think we already know that in terms of versus what we had before. But yeah, I'm curious to see when these odds are coming out. I'm just fascinated by these. But we'll also talk about these tomorrow, so we don't necessarily have to get into them here. But we'll give it a couple more minutes, see if anything comes out on these. But nonetheless, we'll talk about it. So. Just quickly, SEC football, I know you hopped in late. We did do a live stream this morning for basketball, so if you want to check that out, I know some of you are regulars in there. Max and I did that at 8 a.m. this morning. So we talked about Kentucky over Gonzaga. Big games on Sunday. It's big Sunday day for basketball. A lot of big games in the SEC. So we'll have power rankings on that tomorrow too. So,
but by the way, I want to just kind of echo something Nick Saban said in a different way. The power rankings that I put together, which again are composite of about 6 mainstream ones that are out there. Here's your top 16 in this order. Ohio State by about that much over Texas. Notre Dame, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Oregon, Tennessee, Penn State, Indiana, Miami, SMU, South Carolina, Louisville, LSU, A&M. That's your top 16. Clemson at 17, by the way. Clemson probably moved up there for last night, but that's 8 of your top 16 teams or SEC teams. I don't know how that's not worthy of more than 3 bids.
Game times,
and by the way,
too.
Big Ten, hands down the next best league. But man, after your first 4 teams, there was a big drop off.
I'm looking for game times as well for everyone. So. Actually, I think I just found the odds. You guys give me a second, and I think I've got it for us here. I'm going to give you the opening odds. Give me 1 second, and I'll find them, Chris.
While you're looking, did they address SMU and Clemson, the order there?
I wasn't listening, so I turned the audio off at this point. So let me see here. Never mind. I can't find it.
The answer to this, Pete, is no. They're not.
Jeez.
I'm just taking what's out there and kind of blending it together to give me an idea. And again, it's pretty good when you're doing point spreads. If you want to match up Team A and Team B, it's going to be really close to what the spread is.
All right, so the only thing I've found so far is Notre Dame is a 7.5-point favorite over Indiana. But I don't know why I can't get the rest of the games to pull up yet. So
BetOnline had Ohio State, I think, by 7.5 over Tennessee last week.
Okay. I'll see what I can find here. I'm just stall for another minute because I'd like to get these to the people.
I bet you, I had Texas and Clemson being closer to 13. I bet you that's going to be closer to 10 to 12.
You mentioned Texas in some of the big games. I just think that may be too high for my liking at that number.
Well, that was Sweeney's had a pretty good track record in December and January.
Yeah. Agreed.
I would probably put that closer to 10.
Well, we might just have to hold off on these because I think I actually need to pull these up on another thing, but I can't do it while we're recording. So All right. Anyways, any other thoughts, Chris? You guys in the chat, again, if you want to make sure we get to your chat, leave a super chat like many others have already done. Big Baller Brett from earlier, $1.99 super chat. Ditch the Power
He's
4
right.
non-conference games.
He's right.
So.
That is the only implication you should have for the SEC is that just go beat up on the MAC, and because that's what the Big Ten did. Did the Big Ten play anybody outside of the league? Well, okay. Wisconsin played Alabama, lost that one. Southern Cal played LSU, neutral field, won that one. But I mean, like, I applaud Alabama. Alabama goes to Wisconsin. Alabama played South Florida. I know they're not great, but they could have played Akron instead. I mean, trying to play a tough schedule does not matter, because if you have a bad day at one point, it costs you in the playoffs. So if I'm the league, I'm just going, hey, screw it. Let's play 4 the easiest games we can get. Let's get everybody to bowls. Let's not give the playoff committee anything to sink its teeth into come Selection Sunday. That's what I would do.
Here you go. We've got the odds, folks, if you're ready for them. So I will not tell you what service this is from. I don't see our friends at BetOnline having this up just yet, but we will get theirs and talk about theirs in the videos we do this week for these games, of course. But here's what we got, Chris. So I'm going to go back to your projections first. Now, you said that, give me your projections again for Texas Clemson was what?
It could be anywhere from 10 to 13. I bet it's going to be on the lower end of that.
10.5. Texas favored by 10.5 against Clemson. How about Ohio State, Tennessee?
That was already at 7.5 last week, so unless it's moved, and that's where I would have put it too.
7. And
7? Okay.
Actually, I'm going to give you a couple different numbers. I see 10.5 and 11.5 for Texas against Clemson. Ohio State, I see 6.5 and 7 against Tennessee. Notre Dame, Indiana. This one's kind of wild because there's a big discrepancy in multiple places here. I see one with Notre Dame 6.5. I see another with Notre Dame 9.5. So we'll see which way that shifts. Probably towards Notre Dame would be my guess. And then Penn State, SMU. What was your number on that?
I would probably go. Let's see, probably 7-ish, 6-ish.
I see 8.5 and 9.5.
Ooh, no kidding. All right.
Yep. There you go. So there's not a single first round game that's going to be probably under a touchdown.
That one surprises me. But I guess, I mean, you can say on one end, James Franklin just never wins a big game, almost never. On the other hand, SMU's never been in this spot, and that's on the road in a huge venue.
I would say if you're going to bet on, just by looking at these numbers, and again, I'm not a betting expert. We should have Max Barr on for this, or Brian Edwards, but I would probably, I think that Tennessee number is going to be interesting. If you're going to bet on the Vols, I'd say bet it now, because I could see that going down a little bit, but we'll see. Anyways, all right, there you have it. The long-awaited bracket revealed. National championship picks, everyone. Thoughts?
Here's my thought, and I think the other big flaw in the system is these buys. Like, if you reseeded this and you did not give the conference championship bump, those 4 automatic buys, that changes the bracket dramatically. Because I think Arizona State's dropping down to 11, Boise's dropping down to 10, and then you reseed everybody else. So you're looking at, in that case, Oregon 1, Georgia 2, that'd be Texas 3, Penn State 4, Notre Dame 5. So Penn State and Texas are getting buys in that scenario. Notre Dame is playing the 5-12 game against Clemson and hosting. Let's see who's after that. Ohio State would move up to what? Where am I now? 7?
I think so.
Tennessee would be hosting. It moves up a spot. I mean, I think it is a very flawed system the way they have drawn it up. And it would radically shift the bracket if they did it that way.
I think that's coming. So,
I do too. I think that's one thing that is absolutely. Although, when can they change it? Like, do they have the? the conference
remember the
championship
exact.
locked in for?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know that off the top of my head. But I think what will be even more interesting, we talk about the first round odds. I think what will be interesting is if all the, let's say the top seeds advance, or even in the 8-9, I don't think there's a huge difference between Ohio State and Tennessee, but say the top seeds advance. What's the line going to be for Penn State, Boise State? What's the line going to be for Texas, Arizona State? Those kind of things I think that would be interesting.
Yeah.
So, all right, Chris, we do it every year. On any bracket we see, we're going to just full-on gut bracket, take your picks, move them all the way to the championship. Let's do this. We like to have fun with this. This is not our official picks. This is just the gut bracket, everyone. We do it with everything. The gut bracket. Hold on, Chris. Actually, we're gonna stall. Ward Manuel's talking about Alabama right now. Hold on. Give me a second.
All right. I'll let Blake listen into that. Matchup set. We will be, by the way, previewing all these games, or at least the ones involving SEC teams. I would imagine we'll get Clemson, Texas, and Tennessee, Ohio State out this week on our channel. Those will not be live. They'll be recorded. So be watching for those. And we'll probably be doing wrap-ups on all these SEC on SEC games as soon as they're over, the way we do reaction during the year. We had some SEC basketball this morning. Blake and Max got up and talked for over an hour on yesterday's stuff. The headline of the day, Kentucky going to win the Battle of Seattle at Gonzaga last night. So that was a big one. Boy, if you're not following your SEC basketball, which if you're an SEC fan and you're here, you probably are. If you think the league is tough in football, my goodness. Basketball says, hold my beer. This has been a phenomenal year for SEC basketball. And we've got some games going on as we speak, too, I think. So,
all right. Here you go. Ward Manuel said that they value strength of schedule. Don't get them wrong. They value strength of schedule. He said that multiple times.
No, they don't.
He said it multiple times. They value it. But he said there were two things, basically, is kind of what I gathered from this. Alabama's lost to an unranked team. We know, a couple options there. That factored into it. But also, it was SMU's performance in the ACC championship game, losing on the last second. They felt like in this case, SMU deserved to stay above Alabama based on this scenario, and that was his thoughts on that.
Okay, what about Alabama losing to Tennessee and Vanderbilt in the last seconds? Does that matter?
That's a good question.
Apparently
He's probably going
not.
to say a lot more, so I would go back and watch this if you're someone who's interested. But that's all I got on the first go-around. So probably exactly what you expected him to say, to be honest with you. There's nothing in there that's surprising.
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll talk about Ward.
By the way, if strength of schedule matters, then why are they not publishing the strength of schedule numbers? I've not seen those yet. Have you?
I have not.
The ones the committee, because the ones the committee uses are privately sourced through Sports Source Analytics. I have made an inquiry to the company, didn't get a response, and I have still not seen them publish their strength of schedule rankings. I'm calling nonsense on that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I think there are other teams in this discussion too that are in the playoff that don't exactly have, but we'll see.
I mean, I think Indiana deserves to be there, but my goodness. But Indiana's best win this year was Michigan.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to get you the game times before we do our gut bracket real quick, too. I saw those out as well. So, Texas, Clemson, December 21st, 4 p.m. Eastern. Tennessee, Ohio State, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN or ABC, December 21st. December 21st, Penn State, SMU. We're going to kick off today at noon Eastern. It's going to be on TNT and Max. And December 20th, you have Notre Dame, Indiana, 8 Eastern on ESPN or ABC. So, or ESPN and ABC, that is. So, there you go. No surprise, Tennessee, Ohio State in the nightcap for the second.
That'll be fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that's the game of interest to me of all the first four games.
Oh, easily.
But I mean, I'm interested in all of them.
All right. Well, you say that. Let's go. Gut bracket time. Here we go, Chris. We're advancing them on. Are you ready?
Oh boy, this would be a disaster.
I know. We don't listen, folks. We don't hold ourselves to the gut bracket. We just do this in the moment. We'll come back with maybe some official bracket predictions this week. We'll do that this week. We'll have some fun with this. But right now, gut bracket, Chris. Texas, Clemson.
Texas.
I'm moving on. Texas.
I'm a little nervous, but Texas.
Tennessee, Ohio State, Chris.
I wish I knew if Ohio State is really not that good or if it just has a Michigan problem. You know what I mean?
I know what you're saying.
I think I'm going to go Ohio State. Tennessee's 2 losses were on the road this year, but that's my gut.
All right. I'll pick Tennessee to be different.
Okay.
Penn State, SMU.
Penn State, I guess.
This one's, I think, more interesting than
I don't like James Franklin's track record in big games, but at least he's been in a bunch of them.
I'll pick Penn State, but I think this one's a little more interesting than meets the eye. Indiana, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
I'm picking Notre Dame, too. All right. We both got Texas, Arizona State.
Texas.
Ooh, man. I think you're right.
Texas's defense is just so freaking good. I mean, run, pass, you name it. They are big. They are physical. They are deep. I got my issues with Texas, but I think the bracket lines up pretty well for them.
All right. Oregon versus Tennessee or Ohio State. We split our picks here. Are we going to pick one of those teams to beat Oregon?
No.
I'm not either. The gut bracket, folks, not the official prediction. We'll break down the matchups this week, but as of right now, the gut bracket's telling me quack, quack. Boise State, Penn State.
I can't. Penn State. James Franklin's got to be the luckiest man on the planet. He doesn't have Alabama coming to his building. He's got an SMU team that hasn't been in a significant spot in 40 years. With the quarterback that's got questionable accuracy based on what I watched last night. And now you get a Boise State team that shouldn't be anywhere near 3.
I'm dubbing this the region of chaos.
I hope to God Boise State wins that game. I would love
Boise
that.
State, Penn State, SMU, the region of chaos, in my opinion, right here. Just like we talk about brackets in the NCAA tournament. I think there could be any combination of these 3 coming out of this. Man. I'll pick... I don't know. I almost feel like the safer pick is Boise State here, but this is the gut bracket, so I'll go Penn State too. All right, Georgia, Notre Dame.
God, look, think about that a minute. He not only didn't get Alabama. Penn State not only doesn't get Alabama, it's got Boise State as the 3. That has got to be one of the luckiest playoff draws in the history of organized sports, given what the alternatives could have been.
What do you think James Franklin's going to say about the blue field?
I'll just pass on that one.
Georgia, Notre Dame.
They're not playing on the blue field, but you knew that.
I know, but you think he'll be asked about it, like just to bring up the history and the
yes, and he'll get pissed off probably. Been on a few press conferences with James Franklin.
Georgia, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. No, I'm sorry. Give me Georgia. Give me Georgia.
Ooh.
Sorry.
Your gut said Notre Dame, from what I heard.
No. I was thinking we were doing the Indiana Notre Dame. I wasn't
Gotcha.
Locked in.
Oregon, Texas.
Oh man,
I'm picking Oregon. I think
against my better judgment, I'm going Texas. I've fallen in love with that team's talent. It keeps letting me down, but screw it. I'm gonna just ride it all the way through.
Georgia, Penn State.
Georgia. Kirby Smart versus James Franklin in a big game. That's no contest. Sorry.
Right.
No. I'll tell you what. We don't know about Carson Beck yet.
That's what I would.
That might be a big deal.
Moving Georgia on.
No, you know what?
Bit.
Give me Gunnar Stockton to beat him.
Oh, I think Gunnar Stockton, they'll be fine, but that is something. Just something to monitor. I'm going to move Georgia on to the national championship. So you got Texas, I got Oregon versus Georgia, the national championship. Yet again, the Longhorns and the Bulldogs.
I picked Texas twice in that spot. I have learned from my mistakes.
Okay. I know this is it's an SEC channel, but and what worries me about picking Oregon is that I think Oregon can absolutely get beat by Tennessee or Iowa State in that second game. That one worries me for Oregon more than any of the other combination at the top with Arizona State, Texas, or Clemson, to be honest with you. So am I smart in picking Oregon to win the whole thing? Probably not, but I'm going to pick Oregon. But I think they have a very tough path, even as the number one. Whereas if Georgia is healthy enough, I think their path at the bottom sets up better. In the gut bracket, that is. My official bracket may change, but that's just my pick for now. That's what the gut's saying, so we'll see.
I'm looking up total defense because it has kind of quietly become a little bit more of a defensive-centered game over what it was a few years ago. And I think that's a lot of the reason I've got Georgia and Texas going to the final. For some reason, I cannot pull up total defense leaders anywhere. Here we go.
No.
Ohio State and Indiana, number 1 and 2 in total defense, followed by Texas, Indiana, Northern Illinois, and then Penn State. Notre Dame at 8. Oregon, okay, Oregon's okay. 17.8 a game, 302 yards. So I thought Oregon's defense might be a little lower than that, but I don't know, man. Watching the way Georgia and Texas played yesterday, those guys are pretty good on that side of the ball.
I agree. All right, we're out of here on this. Let's see. Let me pull this off the screen here. All right, we're out of here. BetOnline has officially put out their numbers for these games. And there's some movement as I'm reading them, so these are going to swap a bit. Indiana is an 8-point underdog against Notre Dame, so Notre Dame currently minus 110, 8-point favorite. Penn State, 8.5-point favorite, minus 105. That one's moving as we speak. I see the movement.
Which way?
There on this one. I think it's moving in SMU's favor, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But we'll see how that goes. Texas, an 11-point favorite over Clemson, minus 110 across the board on that one. And then Ohio State, minus 7 against Tennessee. So there's your numbers on that. And I'm sure there'll also be some futures on this about who is the winner in terms of looking at, who will actually win the whole thing. Actually, I'm going to give you that right now. College football playoff winner, plus 350, Oregon. They're your betting favorite. Georgia right behind them, plus 360. Texas, plus 360 as well. Texas has the same odds as Georgia right now, which I think is interesting. Ohio State plus 475, Penn State plus 750, Notre Dame plus 1,100, Tennessee plus 2,500, and I won't read off the rest. Indiana actually has the worst odds of anyone in the bracket. So
okay, you said that Georgia and Texas were even in the odds. How much of that is Carson Beck?
Well, I think, again, you're going to have some shifts there depending on what we know. But I still think it's notable with Texas being as the 5 seed, currently has the second best odds. Should tell you a little bit. Tied for the second best odds. So, and I mean, Ohio State has the 4th best odds, and they are the number 8 seed. So I think that is the thought that if they beat Oregon, their path opens up significantly. So
yeah.
Yep. There you go, guys.
Enjoyed it. Can't wait to watch these, Blake. We might have to do I don't know if we'll do a watch along or what we'll do.
So just to add to that, so if you join our It Just Means More tier at Southeastern 16, we're going to be doing some watch-alongs for basketball as well, doing some members-only live streams, Q&As, all that stuff. It's additional content that you won't be able to find anywhere else. So if you want to do that, we will probably do the same with some of these games. May do some watch-alongs. You guys can watch it with us, share your thoughts, all that. So hit that $ button. If you click on it, I think it gives you the option to join. Join the It Just Means More tier, $3.99 a month, Southeastern 16.
All right. Thank you for watching. Again, we got tons of content coming next week between football and basketball, and even some baseball stuff. We recorded a baseball show with some reactions to MLB Pipeline releasing its top 100 guys for the draft next year. So we'll have that for you baseball fans next week. If you're just tuning in, we cover the SEC wall to wall, football, baseball, basketball. We try to have some fun. We try to do it as objectively as possible. And we hope that the brand of what we're doing here resonates with you.
Oh, I think Chris froze. All right. We're going to hop off, guys. I think Chris may have frozen. His internet may have went out.
Watching.
Oh, okay.
Oh, my internet.
Chris, I'm going to let you hop
it?
off. I think you may be
Okay.
frozen. So we appreciate you guys watching, as always. It's okay. At least it waited until the end. So, but yes, we will talk to you guys here soon. Thanks to our sponsor, Bet Online. We'll talk to you again soon at Southeastern 16.